Love and Kill, Angry Tycoon ** Crazy criticism of beauties. In the first year of Ming Sheng's successful promotion to the position of Chief Justice of the Demon Control Department, he was repeatedly betrayed by his family, misunderstood by his subordinates, and ultimately sent to an enemy trap where he tragically fell off a cliff. After that, he offered a rebirth package. After his rebirth, Ming University's judicial officer, Thorough Awakening, was transferred from the action team to a civilian position to fish in the water, with all his heart set on retirement. The arrogant big brother sneered, "You're not as useless as Qinyan's hair." Ming Sheng shrugged and said, "I haven't seen you promoted even though you're so capable." The selfish second brother made a bad move and said, "You're also wasting your time on the show. Why don't you give up your quota to Qinyan?" Ming Sheng gave a slight smile and turned against his bones. He immediately took on the variety show to make a lot of money. Stubborn third brother faced the problem and said, "This cannot be the plan you made. Did you plagiarize Qinyan?" Mingsheng directly retorted. "If she can make this plan, I will retire in place. Please quickly apply to recommend your sister to the command post." Besides, brainlessly boasting that his younger brother is going crazy all day, Mingsheng calmly sends out 10 sets of high-quality college entrance exam exercise books and sends a message. Read more books, less madness. At first, they only thought that Mingsheng was a barbaric waste who didn't understand etiquette, until later on, everyone looked at the newly appointed Chief Justice of the Demon Control Department, feeling overwhelmed and dumbfounded. In his past life, he was born and died just for promotion, salary increase, and rebirth. After rebirth, he looked down on everything and only wanted to retire. He was a hot-tempered big shot, but he was cut into pieces and killed as a rival male lead. Keywords of the novel. Huku Ben dies unprecedented. Big boss. She becomes popular all over the internet without pop-ups. Huku Ben dies unprecedented. Big boss. She becomes popular all over the internet. TXT complete collection download. Huku Ben dies unprecedented. Big boss. She becomes popular all over the internet. Latest chapters read. Chapter 1. Repay my retirement pension. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Repay my retirement pension. After the death of the evil lady of the Tang family, Madame Tang and Tang Dong can finally save dim sum. I heard that after Ming Sheng's death, everyone in the Tang family wanted to beat drums and gongs, and the dragging oil bottle finally disappeared. Isn't that right? But after all, it's my biological daughter. It's always a bit uncomfortable. Fortunately, Miss Air won the 3 Golden Shadow Queen Award and now it's a happy occasion. Waves of discussion came from the cemetery. At the funeral, Tang Qingyun held on to her mother and comforted her softly, saying, "Mom, don't be too sad. Even the spirit in heaven wouldn't want you to be so sad for her." Mrs. Tang put away her disappointment with her deceased daughter in her eyes and switched to a soft color. She lifted her eyes and pursed her lips with a smile, saying, "It's still our family's Qingyun and thoughtfulness. You just won the big prize, so you should be very busy, right? Just like that, you still have time to attend your sister's funeral. You really should let that heartless person open their eyes and take a look." Sigh. At this moment, Ming Sheng floating in mid-air said, "It's quite sudden." She lowered her gaze and glanced at her semi-transparent hand, then shook it in front of Tang Qingyun. After confirming that the other person couldn't see it, she took a deep breath and cursed loudly. "Green tea and white lotus flowers are returning my retirement pension." Before Ming Sheng could take any further action, the scene in front of him suddenly fluctuated, twisted and distorted. 2 seconds later, Miss Ming, who was still floating, suddenly felt grounded. Mingsheng rubbed his eyebrows and, after relieving his headache for a while, finally became distracted and looked towards where he was. The familiar minimalist-style bedroom, with a furniture style that exudes a sense of being alone on all sides. Is this her bedroom in the Tang family? So, how could she be reborn? Mingsheng remained silent for a while, and a strange smile suddenly appeared at the corner of his mouth. The heavens have eyes. She was the Chief Justice of the Demon Suppression Department, who rose from the grassroots level with a salary increase and achieved the position of the boss. Sadly enough, she was ultimately sent into a trap by a hostile organization by her biological parents, and fell off a cliff and died. In her previous life, she was filled with hope that her parents could take pride in her. She worked overtime when others were on vacation, when others were traveling, and when others were sleeping, she still worked overtime. She was so busy that she didn't even have many opportunities to go home. I originally thought that as long as she was excellent enough, she could fit into this damn family, but in the end, I found out that they only saw the fragrant white lotus sister in their eyes, Tang family adopted daughter, Tang Qingyun. Mingsheng took a deep breath. She had completely lost her heart to this family, and if there was anything else she could hold on to, that's only the high retirement pension she didn't enjoy in her past life. At the thought of this, Mingsheng couldn't help but cry in place. Dong dong dong, suddenly there was an impatient knocking sound at the door. How long do you have to procrastinate? The whole family is waiting for you. Did you forget all the etiquette classes your parents asked you to learn a while ago? You can tell who came from the sound alone. Mingsheng calmly packed his luggage and dragged on for another 10 minutes before adjusting a perfunctory smile in front of the mirror and opening the door. Big brother is so anxious because your parents haven't taught you the etiquette of knocking on the door. Tang Chujing's expression turned cold, and he let out a snort of anger. He didn't even bother to say any extra words to Mingsheng. Once you're ready, go downstairs. In the living room on the first floor, Tang's father and mother sat on a sofa, their faces not looking too good. Tang Zhangtian spoke heavily and said, "This is the good daughter you have taught. With so many people waiting for her, she feels at ease." Mrs. Tang's face became even more embarrassed when her husband said something, and her displeasure towards her daughter was almost overflowing. The atmosphere in the living room was very dull. Tang Qingyun saw the trend and smiled gently at Tang's mother, coquettishly saying, "Mom, having a straight face can lead to wrinkles. I asked Aunt Wang to stew bird's nest for you. You need to give your daughter some face." Gu Qian's face immediately softened, and she affectionately patted the back of Tang Qingyun's hand, smiling. "You are still sensible. Unlike your sister, who only makes trouble all day long and doesn't understand anything. She still wants to participate in that variety show and doesn't study well, thinking about going through these crooked paths all day long. If you ask me, it's better to let you go to this variety show, just broaden your horizons, and let Chu Ci help take care of it." Tang Qingyun lowered her gaze and spoke in a tone that made people very distressed. "Mom, don't say that, after all, sister is your biological daughter. How can I compare with sister? Don't feel inferior, Yun Yun. In our hearts, you are the true miss of the Tang family." The young man sitting on the other side of the sofa curved his eyes and smiled, "But Mom is right. Yun Yun, do you want to participate in the program with me?" Tang Qingyun's eyes flashed with joy and satisfaction, suppressing the excitement in her own eyes and turning to a cautious look. She looked up and said, Can I go too? If I can go with my sister, that would be great." Just as Tang Qingyun finished speaking, Yu Guang suddenly saw the person following Tang Chujing downstairs. As Ming Sheng went downstairs, he sincerely applauded and sincerely opened his microphone, saying, "It would be great if all of you could directly enter the entertainment industry. With your acting skills alone, you could bring back a few more Best Actor and Queen trophies every minute." The young man who spoke just now is Mingsheng's second brother, the second young master of the Tang family, Tang Chusi. 2 years ago, he won the Best Actor trophy and became popular throughout the country. Tang Chujing, who was walking on the stairs, frowned and turned around, scolding, "What do you mean? You've lost your mind when you go to school. If you don't understand etiquette and rules, you'll be fined 100 times for copying family rules when you go back." After finally picking up a chance to start over for nothing, Mingsheng felt suffocated even breathing with these people. "You can enjoy yourself and copy it, I won't accompany you anymore. If it were in the past, she would have already begun to reflect on what she did wrong. But now after speaking, Mingsheng skipped over Tang Chujing and walked to the sofa, sitting elegantly. Having been scolded twice in a row, Tang Chujing's face was so black that it could be described as twisted water. Ming Sheng ignored Tang Chujing's dark expression and leaned against the back of the sofa, glancing up at the other person's face. Second brother, isn't the variety show you just mentioned the one I'm going to participate in? When she was in college, she planned a live variety show with a friend of her professor and mentor, and urgently needed amateur help. So she was recommended by the professor. However, in her past life, she felt that participating in variety shows would hinder her work overtime, so she followed Tang Chusi's advice and easily gave up the position of an amateur to Tang Qingyun. Tang Qingyun, on the other hand, rose to fame through this variety show and became the national school flower and the goddess of academic excellence. Tang Chusi's peach blossom eyes were very narrow, and his squinted eyes showed a hint of mockery. This variety show is not suitable for you. You have a solitary personality and cannot learn to communicate with others. When you go on the show, you will also be scolded. Although I don't know where you got the opportunity to participate in the show, Yun Yun is obviously more suitable for appearing on the show than you. Don't be childish and give up the show slot. Open a new article now. Congratulations to Ran K Baby for guessing the name of the new female goose. Take the time to enter the skirt and privately poke me to receive the reward. Regarding updates, if the number of people checking in for updates exceeds 30 or the number of recommended tickets on the same day exceeds 100, the update will be added. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Transfer to Civil Service. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Transfer to Civil Service. Ming Sheng smiled slightly and said, I remember second brother, you also want to participate in this variety show. You take care of your sister so much, why don't you give her your spot? Tang Chusi's face stiffened as it was a program that his agent had finally managed to insert into him through connections. Although he appears to have transformed into a director on the surface, apart from the first one that went viral, he couldn't even gather a good cast for the rest of the scripts and managed to produce a few films, all of which were criticized to the heavens. If we can't find a new point, even the hottest celebrity will eventually have a day to pass. He sneered and mocked, I was personally invited by the director to go, and of course, the spot you drew by luck is different. For the sake of your surname Tang, I advise you to quickly give up the spot. Even if you climb up a branch, you still cannot become a phoenix. Ming Sheng looked at Tang's father and mother, arched the fire and said. Your son scolded you both. Tang's father patted the table and said, you. Seeing Mingsheng's abnormal behavior, Tang Qingyun felt inexplicably flustered in her heart. Sister, what's wrong with you? Well behaved, why suddenly? Was it me who made you angry? Ming Sheng is like taking the wrong medicine today. He used to remain silent and let others control him. He usually stays in the school dormitory and even rarely returns home. Upon hearing Tang Qingyun's familiar soft and weak voice, Ming Sheng thought of his deceased retirement pension and various misunderstood experiences, and was even more infuriated. She looked at Tang Qingyun with a gentle smile and spoke irritably. Is there anything you need to do here? Shut up. Seeing Tang Qingyun being scolded, Tang's father's tone sank and he let out a loud sigh. That's enough. He looked at Mingsheng with unbearable pain and said, when your mother and I first found you, we were so excited that we couldn't sleep all night. However, we didn't expect you to have such a temperament. We don't expect you to be as knowledgeable, rational, gentle, and obedient as Xiaoyun, but you can't be so lawless. Speaking quickly in one breath, Tang Zhangtian patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. There's no need to discuss this matter. Xiaoyun from the program is going to attend. You, Tang Mingsheng, get out of here now and think in seclusion. You're not allowed to come out without my permission. Gu Chuyen looked coldly at her daughter and remained silent. Tang Chusi laughed directly and prepared to leave without any concern. Mom and Dad, big brother and sister, then I'll go catch the announcement first. I'll have my agent prepare for the program-related matters. Tang Chujing remained calm and nodded at his second brother, looking at Mingsheng in a deep voice. Didn't you hear what Dad said? You're already 18, you should understand something now. Despite being ignored and scolded by his close family, Mingsheng's expression remained unchanged. She suddenly tilted her head and smiled. I think I didn't say it clearly enough. I said, I won't let the resources of this program go. One of you is an A-level demon hunter that everyone admires, and the other is a famous actor and director-producer in the entertainment industry. Oh, by the way, and our Tang Dong, since you three want Tang Qingyun to appear on the program, why bother snatching my spot as an ordinary college student? Tang Qingyun lowered her gaze and said thoughtfully, how could I be so sorry to trouble my dad and brothers? This program was originally intended for my sister. As an adopted daughter, it's not easy to appear on the screen, after all. After all, I am the eldest lady of the Tang family, Ming Sheng yawned lazily and answered. Tang Qingyun's expression was inexplicable as she was robbed of what she wanted to say, and she looked at Mingsheng with caution. Mingsheng smiled and said, since you know it in your heart, don't keep talking about it. Those who don't know might think the Tang family is treating you harshly. Tang Chujing suppressed his strange feeling in his heart and said sternly, Mingsheng. You're a sister, so you have to show your sister's attitude. How did you talk to your sister? Having finished speaking, Mingsheng glanced at the time and stood up to signal. It's getting late, so I won't be bothering you anymore. Since this family can't accommodate me, okay, I'll go. Goodbye, you guys. Everyone present didn't expect Mingsheng's attitude, even Tang Chusi, who was supposed to leave, was taken aback for a moment. I saw Mingsheng carrying a backpack containing her few luggage and walking straight towards the main entrance. Halfway through, she seemed to suddenly remember something and turned her head and smiled. By the way, my name is Mingsheng. My surname is Ming, not Tang. I hope to never see you again. Come back. Do you believe I stopped your bank card? Damn girl. If you dare to step out of this door today, you'll just wait outside and starve to death. Behind him came the furious voice of Tang Zhangtian. Ming Sheng rolled his eyes and kept walking, quickly leaving the Tang family. After leaving the Tang family mansion, my breathing became somewhat smooth. Mingsheng dialed a phone number, and soon a gentle voice from the opposite side came from a customer service representative. Hello, this is the Capital Bureau of the Demon Control Bureau. May I help you? Mingsheng asked directly to the point, may I ask if Director Wen has come to the office today? Excuse me, may I ask who you are? The deputy captain of the action team, Mingsheng. The voice on the other side suddenly changed, and the customer service tone completely disappeared. Wait a moment, Deputy Ming, we are confirming the information for you. Confirmation is complete. Director Wen has not had any outings all day today and is staying in the company all day. Mingsheng thanked him, hung up the phone, stopped a taxi, and rushed towards the Demon Control Bureau. Asterisk at this time, within the Demon Suppression Department. In the director's office, all the pending documents in front of Wen Jinxing have been piled up into a mountain. Director Wen took a strong sip of coffee and raised his hand to signal the secretary knocking on the door to come in. Wen Shu, Deputy Ming is coming to see you soon and said he needs to submit a job transfer application. Wen Jinxing kept his hand on, reviewing the document without lifting its head, saying, Didn't you say it? The requirements of Deputy Ming's team are all unconditionally met. Wait, what are you saying? Before the secretary could repeat it again, Wen Jinxing had already taken action and suddenly stood up. Do you mean that Sheng is resigning? The secretary corrected in a low voice, it's a job transfer. Deputy Ming applied to be transferred to the Linqing branch as a civil servant. Wen Jinxing urgently said, what's the difference? Deputy Ming was forcibly snatched from a bunch of directors and several judicial chiefs back then. This is a golden signboard. Who didn't know that our Kyoto General Administration Action Team has a powerful deputy? No, I need to talk to her personally. As soon as Wen Jin's jargon fell, there was another knock at the door. Ming Sheng leaned against the door and politely asked, "Is Wen Chu looking for me?" Wen Jinqing gestured for the secretary to leave, then warmly welcomed him and greeted Mingsheng, saying, "Deputy Ming is here. Come and sit down." Until he pressed Mingsheng onto his seat, Wen Jinqing took out a can of cola from the small refrigerator and handed it over, probing and asking. "Xiao Sheng, it's been a year since you joined the Demon Control Bureau. Look, in just 1 year, you've been promoted from an ordinary employee to a deputy team. I'm not hiding it from you either. The position of captain of your first team is vacant, and I had planned to bring you up soon. It's not an exaggeration to say, your future is bright now. Why do you suddenly want to transfer to a civilian position at this time?" End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Innocent Colleague Relationships. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Innocent Colleague Relationships. Ming Sheng smiled apologetically and took out his application form from his bag, saying solemnly, "Wen Shu, I thought about my life last night and found that a job of fighting and killing is not very suitable for me. Compared to working on the front line, I think a second-line civil service investigation is more suitable for me." Seeing Mingsheng unmoved, Wen Jinqing suddenly became anxious and curved his way to save the country. "So what, we also have civil servants at our Kyoto headquarters. I guarantee that your salary and benefits will remain the same, still following the frontline treatment, and it's still the old rule that you don't need to work at designated positions. How about that?" Ming Sheng shamefully felt his heart skip a beat, but after a moment, he still regretfully refused. "Although I really want to continue working with you, I'm sorry, but I still want to be closer to the school." Wen Jinqing was taken aback for a moment. If it weren't for Mingsheng's mention, he would have almost forgotten that the Ming deputy team from the free post was still a student who hadn't graduated. He sighed helplessly and said, "Okay. It seems like I can't keep you anymore. However, in recent years, the mortality rate in the first tier has greatly increased, and the second tier is indeed a good choice. Have you decided what job to apply for?" Ming Sheng smiled slightly, his eyes filled with longing for future life. "Linqing Branch, Logistics Investigation Post." Wen Jinqing was once again shocked and puzzled, saying, "I remember your major in emergency handling and response to special events in university. Coupled with your experience on the front line, the command post is obviously more suitable for you." Mingsheng nodded and showcased his cards. "It's really suitable for me, but it's not suitable for me to retire." In her previous life, she had already reached the peak of promotion, salary increase, and was appointed as the Chief Justice of the Demon Control Department, managing all branches of the entire region. But it is obvious that behind every high-paying salary is a humble worker who dedicates 24 hours to work. Not to mention the effort she put in, that salary is not really worth it. In Wen Jinqing's heartbroken eyes, Mingsheng got up with his backpack and planned to leave. The worried writer pleaded for a moment and sighed, "If necessary, I can help you write a recommendation letter. Your talent should not be limited to just an ordinary civil servant position." Ming Sheng quickly stopped and said, "Thank you for the kindness from the cultural department." In order to avoid any unnecessary actions taken by Wen Jinqing due to the loss of talent, Ming Sheng came up with a touching reason in a hurry. "Wen Shu, as you know, I have just turned 18 this year. Although I have set my sights on dedicating my entire life to demon hunting, I still want to spend more leisure time during my wonderful college years experiencing the beautiful youth that ordinary college students should have." Wen Zhen's actions were so shaken that he couldn't speak. After a while, he nodded and sighed. "I didn't think it all out. Don't worry, I'll help you keep your identity hidden." Mingsheng nodded with a touch in his eyes, then quickly left the office with oil on his feet. Wen Jinqing, who was alone and still immersed in his own world, casually opened the application form on the table and his eyes gradually froze. I saw 2 lines of small characters written in black on an A4-sized white paper: young people don't know how to fish, they mistakenly treat overtime as a treasure. As soon as he left Wen Jinqing's office, Ming Sheng was blocked at the corner of the corridor by a group of people. They are all members of the action team, and they are also her nominal team members. Although she is the vice captain of a team, because she is not on duty, she basically performs single-person tasks. Even team tasks are managed by one person on one line. However, the members of the action team did not reject their young vice team. There is no other reason. Ming Sheng's strength is truly terrifying. Coupled with the reputation of being a workaholic, everyone holds a complex attitude of respect and fear towards her. A handsome dull-faced guy with a very small appearance gossiped. "Deputy Ming, did you hear from Sister Fong that you want to be transferred to another branch's operation team?" According to normal logic, it is speculated that a person with such talent as Ming Sheng will only be able to move up the ranks. Ming, the former workaholic, said vaguely, "I was transferred to another department, preparing to transfer to the civil service." Everyone nodded, although surprised. They all expressed understanding. After all, not everyone can tolerate the life and death on the front line these days. "Hey, Lieutenant, do your little apprentice know about your job transfer?" The person who spoke this time was a beautiful woman with big wavy curly hair and thick skin. Mingsheng thought for 2 seconds before realizing who her little apprentice was. She waved her hand. "Even if I don't transfer positions, I can't take him with me every time I go out to work, can I? He has to adapt to working alone." "What do you mean, Miss Ming? Are you going to betray me?" A low and gloomy voice suddenly came from behind the crowd. A few members of the action team didn't see the situation right. "Look at me, I'll look at you," and at the same time make excuses to slip away. Qing Zhenyan walked a few steps to Mingsheng and raised his hand, wanting to pull Mingsheng's hand. He spoke anxiously. "Did you argue with your family again? Ming Jie, why can't you just endure it? I will soon pass the C.level Demon Hunter qualification exam and officially join the action team. Why can't you wait a little longer? First of all, if you are free, you can brush 2 more sets of exam questions. The qualification exam for level C Demon Hunter is not as simple as you think. Secondly." Ming Sheng tried to speak in a gentle tone. "I just took you on a 1-month internship when you first joined, and I don't think our relationship is good enough for you to openly guide my personal choices here. When Qing Zhenyan first joined the company, he was just a novice who relied on connections. However, based on his father's strong support for the headquarters Demon Control Department, everyone would take care of this mascot to some extent. She is no exception. But that's all there is to it." Qing Zhenyan looked at Mingsheng incredulously, still determined. "Sister Ming, you know what I mean to you. My dad can't possibly agree with me being with someone without a family background. I've heard your older brother say that you had a big fight with Uncle Tang this morning, but there's no overnight feud between father and daughter. Uncle Tang and Aunt Gu must be doing it for your good. So, if you listen to me, you can go back and apologize to them. After admitting your mistake, you'll go over. They definitely won't argue with you. By the way, I heard." Mingsheng almost wanted to pry open this person's head and see what kind of structure it was, to be able to say such outrageous things. "May I ask if your mind is flooded?" Qing Zhenyan was still immersed in his own world and said, "I have already discussed with my father. Sister Ming, as long as she marries as Miss Tang of the Tang family and can persuade Uncle Tang and Brother Tang to cooperate with our family, my father will accept you as our daughter. In law." Ming Sheng made a pause gesture and, seeing that Qing Zhenyan's father had smashed hundreds of dollars into the Demon Control Bureau every year, he used his last bit of patience to hold back the remaining words he had not yet cursed. "Qing Gongzi, you are the eldest young master of the Qing family, with a wealth of wealth. I am just a poor laborer. It's impossible for us to work together and I'm not interested in you. Let's maintain an incredibly pure colleague relationship, can we?" End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Program Official Announcement. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 4 Program Official Announcement. Seeing Qing Jinyan wanting to say more, Ming Sheng seamlessly took over. Of course, I was just politely informing you, not seeking your opinion. So please let me know if I can catch the high-speed train. Although Ming Sheng used to reject him, he has never been so decisive as he is today. Qing Jinyan was momentarily shocked to the spot, clutching his phone awkwardly and unable to say a word. He stiffly moved his body to make way for the road. Mingsheng passed sideways, adhering to his attitude towards the son of the Gold Lord, and added, "Thank you." That evening, the final lineup of the Tianxian Tier Force variety show, which had already been trending for several times due to guest slots being torn, was finally announced. Official Assistant V4, follow me. Everyone is looking forward to it. Thank you all for your love of the program chasing me. After extensive screening and final formation, today Xiaolai finally brought the final guest list. Let's welcome renowned director Tang Chusi, original singer Tongan, handsome boy Tongda, and lovely sister Li Noa. This year's 16th birthday, biology professor Jiang Song-chi from Ming University, talented student Tang Qingyun, and freshman Ming Sheng from Ming University. Live a game where you can leave as you please. In the first episode, let's meet in Mingsheng and enjoy the summer scenery together. As soon as the official announcement from the program team was released, fans from all over rushed into the comments section. 3 ordinary people. That's how you guys suck the blood of the Tang Dynasty actor, right? I saw my university professor while surfing the internet, trembling with fear, Ainen. No. I'm starting to look forward to this little show, don't let me down. Sigh, just by seeing someone, you can tell that this program is full of ups and downs. Curious about the identity of ordinary people. The production team won't choose people for no reason, will they? Don't be fooled, there seems to be a spot randomly drawn, but I don't know how to draw it. I know this. The second to last little sister's WeChat account has a record of being drawn. I'm envious, but Miss is really a top student and a beautiful woman, / cover your mouth and cry. The next day, in Tang Chusi's studio. Tang Qingyun walked in with 2 cups of coffee and gave a sweet smile to the employees in the studio. I'll treat everyone to coffee. After speaking, there was an assistant behind him carrying 2 large bags of coffee and distributing them. Tang Chusi's assistant Su Cha approached with a smile and said, "Miss Tang is here to find Teacher Tang, right? Please come in quickly." "Thank you, Mississippi. You have a heart. Is this our boss's girlfriend?" "Oh, you're new here." "I don't know. This is our boss's sister who hasn't been officially announced to the public. She's a serious Miss Tang from the Tang family. Be clever." "Hey, the boss said a few times before that the takeout ordered by the family was ordered by Miss Qingyun, right? Most likely, Miss Tang is really beautiful and kind-hearted, and I heard she's also a college bully. This family's genes are also amazing." Upon hearing these discussions, Tang Qingyun's eyes flickered with satisfaction and followed Su Cha into Tang Chusi's office. Upon seeing his sister's arrival, Tang Chusi put down the script in his hand and looked up with a smile, saying, "Yun, I came to talk to you about variety shows." Tang Qingyun pretended to be surprised and said, "What, can I really appear on the show with my sister?" Tang Chusi's eyes flashed with a hint of disgust towards Mingsheng, and he slowed down his voice to appease him. "Don't worry, the program team has already announced it. I have asked people I know before, and they happen to be missing one more person. Originally, they randomly drew an idol in the circle, and I directly asked them to replace it with you. Yun, you don't have to worry, I will take you to participate in the game." Tang Qingyun covered her mouth with both hands and lowered her head, whispering, "Thank you, brother, but originally that guest couldn't be on the variety show." Tang Chusi casually said, "It's just a little idol from the 18th tier. I gave him a magazine cover picture resource, and he'll be able to be a flying guest on the show in the future." I'm probably overjoyed. After Tang Qingyun left, Tang Chusi coldly instructed his assistant. Finding a group of water soldiers shows that Sheng is the person who brought the funds into the group. By the way, I will give Yunyun's account to the public relations to guide the public opinion and create a situation, saying that Yunyun is the guest of the variety show in the lottery. On the other hand, Ming Sheng is completely unaware of the online turmoil and bloodshed. She casually tied her hair, yawned and glared at the black circles under her eyes as she rushed to the laboratory. In a certain experimental class at the beginning of the school year, she was caught in the eye of the attending professor and was snatched into the research group, promoted to the youngest but most powerful national treasure level existence in the entire research group. Her major in university was emergency handling and response to special events, which is essentially the essential skill cultivation of a demon hunter. When she applied for this major, it was also to better develop in the Demon Suppression Bureau. For her, who only wants to retire now, this major instantly becomes meaningless. As soon as he entered the laboratory, the old professor with half-gray hair looked up with joy on his face. Shaoxing is here. Your senior sister brought you breakfast. The old professor's surname is Wan, and his main focus is on emergency plans for the public when monsters appear. Although the existence of the Demon Control Bureau is now widely accepted by the public, only a few have actually had close contact with demons, and most people do not have this part in their lives. Knowing the concept and facing it directly are completely different things, which requires the existence of talents who have sufficient understanding of monsters and can develop emergency plans in a short period of time. Senior sister is Professor Wen's daughter. Wen Chuyue, as her name suggests, is a gentle beauty from Jiangnan. Mingsheng greeted another senior brother in the research group and then walked up to Professor Wen. While having breakfast, he couldn't help but doze off and asked in pain. Professor, what is today's project? Wen Huanyan kindly patted Mingsheng's shoulder and said, It's you. Mingsheng looked up in confusion and saw Wen Chuyue take out her phone to signal, Shaoxing, my dad saw you being scolded online and was so angry this morning that he almost ended up fighting against black fans in person. In the end, he ended up struggling not to curse. Now the old man regrets recommending you to a variety show. On the topic Real. Times Square, most people have already recognized Tang Qingyun as the lucky amateur selected by the program team's lottery, while Mingsheng is the capital sister who brought funds into the group through social connections. When Chuyue worried and said, Shaoxing, our idea is to send an explanation in the name of my father. You were clearly going to save the scene, but now you have been scolded for no reason. Mingsheng glanced at the comments and took a sip from a thermos soaked in goji berries, calmly saying. Now let the professor clarify that he will only rely on the fact that I rely on my network to enter the program. Amidst Wen Chuyue's uneasy gaze, Mingsheng squinted and suddenly smiled. Don't worry, senior sister. Since you said I brought funds into the group, wouldn't it be unfair if I didn't show some privileges on the program? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Single Rest Room. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Single Rest Room. When Chuyue's voice was gentle, but her eyes were firm. If you're being bullied, you must tell us. The junior sister we hold in our hands is not someone else's doormat. Seeing that Mingsheng had a clear idea in his heart, the two of them stopped talking about this topic. When Huanyan turned around and said, Shaoxing, I have an internship opportunity in my hands and I happen to be short of people. I'm at the Demon Control Department in Linqing for exactly a month. The teacher leading the team is Professor Jiang from the neighboring biology department. The one who is on the program with you. Do you want to go? Ming Sheng's hand, which had just lifted an oatmeal bun, paused in mid-air. Linqing Yaosi, isn't this your next boss? She smiled slightly and said, I'm sorry, Professor. I happen to have something to attend to recently. However, I'm only a freshman, so let's give this opportunity to other senior brothers and sisters. When Huanyan regretfully gave up. Asterisk the transfer process takes 3.10 working days, which means that Sheng can check in at the Yaosi in Linqing town on the 10th day. After spending 3 days of a happy life without any overtime or field work at Mingsheng, we finally welcomed a variety show live broadcast. The first episode of the variety show was held at Ming University, which is renowned for its luxurious appearance nationwide, not only due to its ranking among universities, but also because the campus is large enough. The program officially started at 8 o'clock, but by 7:30, the live broadcast had already begun to warm up. All guests have arrived at the scene with full makeup. Besides Ming Sheng and Jiang Songqi. The former is slowly carrying a bag of soybean milk towards the recording site. Tang Qinyun looked at Mingsheng's face, which had no makeup or embellishments, and a hint of jealousy flashed in her eyes. Her thoughts flowed a few times, and an excited expression appeared on her face. She waved at Mingsheng and said, "Mingsheng, I'm here. I didn't expect you to join the program too." The other guests followed Tang Qinyun's gaze and looked at the person who was yawning as they walked by. Original singer Tongnan, dressed in a trendy outfit, curiously asked, "Do Qinyun's sister and the new guest know each other?" At the moment when Tang Chusi saw Ming Sheng, there was a hint of disgust in his eyes. With a hint of peach blossom in his eyes, he sarcastically answered instead of Tang Qinyun. "Not familiar, I've seen it a few times before." Finally started. Fans of this book of songs are checking in, Sibao is on the move. Teacher Tang is so handsome. Today's suit is so killing me. Ma Yi, looking around, there are all fans of Tang Chusi, Tong Tong, you are really handsome, Mom. Sure enough, the teenage killer is not just joking/crying with your mouth covered, "Ah, my glutinous baby, isn't it so cute? Wow, who is this new little sister? She looks great. And her makeup is so good, it looks like she hasn't changed. Isn't this my junior sister? I've seen her once in school. She's so white that she shines brightly and has great skin. Isn't that right? A mediocre person who hasn't even made it into the industry has even used the Navy, so it's truly worth bringing funds into the team." What, go into detail. This Mingsheng is said to be a layman, but he was all ripped off. There was a wealthy owner behind him, who directly snatched the spot for Xiaomudu and forcibly squeezed in to bring funds into the group. I often come across this person's marketing in the past few days, so I'll just try to ride on the newcomer persona of Linda. I don't know how I got in, so I probably didn't expect there to be a real academic bully, eating melon, on this program. Guide Tang Qinyun's little sister Weibo at its Qinyun, a top student at Peking University. This is the true academic beauty, and people enter the program through lucky draws, which is much better than a capital tycoon with an improper name. I don't know how many times/rolled my eyes. After answering Tongnan, Tang Chusi looked at Tang Qinyun and reminded him in a warm voice. Yun, there's no need to be so gentle with an uneducated person. Although there is no specific name, combined with the context before and after, the fool knows who the Tang and Chu Ci are talking about. Among the guests, Tang Chusi had the highest rank, and he made his attitude so clear that others naturally dared not refute him. Li Noa secretly glanced at Ming Sheng, who was dressed in a simple white T-shirt and casually tied a ponytail, feeling that this sister didn't seem like the uneducated person mentioned by the Tang Shadow Emperor. After Tang Chusi finished speaking that sentence, the Tang family army in the barrage immediately went to war. Sibao personally certified that she is not cultured. This sister must have poor character, lightning protection. Me too, I was just trying to say that she looks really good, but I didn't expect her reputation to be so bad. Everyone should pay more attention to our new drama of Tang Chusi. And the younger sister next to us, a beautiful and powerful little sister. Speaking of which, Tang Yingdi and Tang Qinyun both have the surname Tang Ai, but it seems that they haven't heard that Tang Yingdi has a younger sister. The barrage was so noisy that the entire screen was covered in bloody scenes, but the parties involved knew nothing about it. Ming Sheng was dressed just like going to the morning rush, and compared to the meticulously dressed guests, he looked like a passerby who had accidentally entered the camera. Unfortunately, she has a face that is too dazzling, even without makeup. It is so beautiful that it is hard to ignore. Director Su looked at Ming Sheng through the lens and couldn't help but feel regretful for a moment. What a great seedling, recommended by his father's friend. Unfortunately, with Tang Chusi's suppression, it may be difficult to become popular. Mingsheng arrived at the familiar scene of the filming team as if returning to his own home, waving at several guests. "Good morning, have you eaten breakfast, everyone?" Li Noa looked at Mingsheng's smiling face and instinctively replied. "Eating." Before she could finish speaking, she was pulled by Tong En and signaled to look at Tang Chusi with a glance. After seeing Mingsheng's attire, Tang Chusi's disgust almost overflowed from his eyes, and he sneered. What doesn't belong to oneself, even if forcibly snatched away, will only appear like one's own imitation, and some people may not seem to understand this truth. Tang Qingyun urgently patted her brother's hand and said in a low voice that could ensure that everyone around her could hear. "Brother. It's my honor to appear on the program with Sister Mingsheng. Didn't we agree not to mention the quota?" The words of the two siblings of the Tang family combined are. The quota was snatched by Mingsheng, and Tang Qingyun was kind-hearted and even took the initiative to cover it up. "I'll go, it's true that I'm grabbing a spot." How dare Mingsheng be a little more disgusting? I really hate people who cheat. The key is to grab a spot and not record the program properly. She looks too casual in this outfit. Isn't she really taking this program seriously / looking confused? Don't be noisy, although my focus is on Tang Qingyun calling out Tang Chusi go, so are you really siblings? Then teacher Tang's family is also amazing. Brother is the actor, sister is the academic achiever / envious. At this moment, Ming Sheng, who witnessed the entire process of these two self-directed and self-acting actors, smiled and suddenly turned his head to look at the director, his tone full of doubt. "Director Su, by the way. Where's my single-person lounge? There's no personal assistant with me on site. In this hot weather, can't I even have to take an umbrella myself?" End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Terror Box. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Terror Box. Is Mingsheng, the recliner, crazy? He completely gave up on himself and stopped acting. Is this sister okay? Princess, I suggest not coming to this program and lying down at home. Can't you? Su Zhuliang was stunned as he watched Mingsheng speak wildly under the camera, and could only make frantic gestures to make the other person shut up. Tang Chusi sneered and mocked, "I was quite open-minded today. Some people have even thicker skin than city walls." Mingsheng smiled and looked at Tang Chusi, ignoring Su Zhuliang's expression of, "Are you crazy? Emperor Tang, are you the reincarnation of the pea shooter?" It's hard not to speak for a second. Tang Chusi angrily said, "You. Rumor has it that I brought funds into the group. Why don't I have this privilege?" Ming Sheng was completely unaffected by Tang Chusi and continued to ask Su Zhuliang sincere questions, as if he really wanted to ask this question. But under the camera, the sarcasm in Mingsheng's eyes was almost overflowing the screen, and it was clear at a glance that this paragraph was satirical. First of all, I'm not a fan of Tang Dynasty. Secondly, I don't pursue celebrities, but just the little sister just said that. The scolding was really satisfying. Some fans don't think too much of themselves. Really, do you think you're the head of the big internal affairs department, controlling the sky and earth, / smile? For those who support Mingsheng, I can only say that your qualities are just like this, pure passers-by. I was indeed surprised by Mingsheng's operation. This is the first time I have seen such a fierce guest in the entertainment industry, so I directly put the matter of bringing funds into the group on the surface / dumbfounded. Damn it, I actually think what she said makes a lot of sense. If she really brought funds into the group, I don't think public relations should be so garbage. Now when I click on the entry, half of them are cursing Mingsheng. Su Zhuliang choked and immediately understood what this person meant. He glanced at the dark-looking Tang Dynasty actor, and even if he wanted to make a comeback, he could only give up for now under the live broadcast camera. Just as the atmosphere at the scene was about to explode, Su Zhuliang saw a figure in his spare time and immediately waved excitedly as if he had seen a savior. "Professor Jiang, this way." Jiang Songqi nodded politely and walked over. It has to be said that Professor Jiang's face completely subverts most people's stereotypical impression of a university professor. If he were to change into casual clothes, he would not have any sense of awkwardness among college students, even at the level of a basketball court for a girl chasing him. Professor Jiang had a cold face with a pair of fox eyes, and with a small mole at the corner of his eyes, he laughed like a fox spirit from the human world. Tongan couldn't help but wow and poked Li Noa 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 softly, saying, "Is this the one you girls like? It's too handsome, isn't it?" Li Noa Noa looked at Jiang Songqi, but at the moment when her gaze met Professor Jiang, she trembled inexplicably. The scent on this person's body. So terrifying. Jiang Songqi walked forward, raised his glasses, and his gaze swept across the room, but he happened to stay on Mingsheng for a few seconds. After a moment, he withdrew his gaze and said in a warm voice, "Hello everyone, I am Jiang Songqi, currently a biology professor at Ming University." When Ming Sheng saw the back of Jiang Songqi, he was rarely in a daze. This young professor from Ming University also bears a striking resemblance to his former rival. When she was still the captain, she always encountered the obstruction of that crazy gentleman when she went on missions, and it wasn't until she was promoted to the Chief Justice of the Demon Suppression Department that she was able to end her entanglement with the other party. The next second, Jiang Songqi curved his eyes and smiled at Mingsheng, "This classmate, have we met somewhere before?" Mingsheng. "The case has been solved." That dead fox couldn't have spoken to her in such a normal tone, it must not be him. She smiled brightly and said, "I took Professor Zhang's elective course last semester." Although she has hardly attended classes due to various tasks. Unexpectedly, Jiang Songqi, who looked gentle, just stared at her with a very surprised expression and asked after her. "How does Ming feel about my class?" Mingsheng smiled slightly, paused for a moment, and then praised sincerely. "The content is detailed and the subject matter is novel, which has great scientific significance and has brought great inspiration to us non-professional students. It is truly Professor Jiang who has easily accomplished such a great thing." Jiang Songqi's smile remained unchanged, but his tone added a hint of subtle playfulness. "Is that right? It seems that Ming has a high recognition of my explanation of classical literature appreciation. Thank you for liking it." When he heard the words, appreciation of classical literature, Mingsheng almost couldn't help but curse out a foul word. "You are a biology professor who crosses majors quite quickly. And it turns out that this is the culprit who caused her to stay up late and write a 5,000-word essay after finishing her field work." Miss Ming's face slowly showed a nuclear-friendly smile. Director Su saw the opportunity and quickly took advantage of the relatively relaxed atmosphere to speak up. "Cough, then our program is about to officially start. First of all, welcome the 6 of you to the recording site of the first episode of Follow Me. Now, let's enter the background introduction section. In the year 1023, a large scale pursuit infinite flow game descended on Earth, and you are all lucky players selected to enter the system. The name of this instance is Find Her. After the start of the dungeon, 2 inspectors will chase players inside the dungeon, each equipped with a life light. If a player is pressed to turn off the life light by the inspector, they will immediately exit the dungeon and lose their game qualification. Please strive to survive and restore the storyline of the dungeon to find the ultimate truth. The general setting was understood by everyone present before the start of the broadcast, so the acceptance was very good. Su Zhuliang continued, "Firstly, we will use a small game to determine the initial hiding time for everyone after the dungeon starts. As soon as the words were finished, the props group moved the long table to the front of the guests with great awesome. Everyone was facing an open box that was opaque except the front. There's something about this program setting, look forward to it / look forward to rubbing hands. Oh, this is a horror box. Does anyone see what's inside this box? Why does it look like a stick? Seems like a warning stick. It's the one that law enforcement officers from the Demon Control Department often wear around their waist. My house lives next to it and I often see them carrying it when they go out on field work. Mom, such a niche thing, how can you guess by just touching it / frowning? Ming Sheng looked at the box in front of him, and there was an opening on the top, which was clearly something someone could reach in and touch. In addition, with the anti-peeping barriers between people, it is already clear what kind of game to play. Su Zhuliang is still reciting specific rules. Everyone, please reach into the box in front of you and write down the items you think are in the box on the whiteboard next to you. In the order of correct answers, you will receive the initial hiding time from long to short. Everyone is somewhat afraid of the unknown things in the box. Faced with the camera, Ming Sheng hesitated symbolically for 2 seconds before reaching in without saying a word. When he felt the familiar feel and shape, the smile on Mingsheng's face paused slightly. If I guess correctly, isn't this her legal enforcement tool? Take out the ribbon, start playing the song, work hard to dance Yanko, wave to attract readers, don't miss it when passing by, crazy search for recommended tickets, collect comments and 5-star reviews, continue dancing Yanko, end of this chapter. Chapter 7. Doubts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Doubts. In her past life, there were many scrolls, and Mingsheng's familiarity with the warning stick was high. Even if it turned into dust, she couldn't forget the days when she worked overtime wearing this stick, not to mention touching it with her eyes closed. She picked up the small whiteboard next to the box, wrote a few words without hesitation, turned around, and handed it to the verifier standing behind. The verifier didn't react for a moment and took the whiteboard handed over by Ming Sheng with a shocked face. After confirming that the answer was correct, his eyes were full of disbelief and he raised his hand to signal to the director. Su Zhuliang, who witnessed everything, swallowed his saliva and trembled slightly as he preached. Ming Sheng's answer is correct, ranking first and obtaining 10 minutes of hiding time. Jiang Songqi raised his eyes and a hint of interest flashed through his eyes. He also took out his hand and wrote down the correct answer, handing it to the staff behind him. The next second, before others could accept the fact that Mingsheng had already guessed the answer, they heard Su Zhuliang's incredible voice. Professor Zhang's answer is correct, ranking second and obtaining 7 minutes of hiding time. I'll go, have these two people read the script yet? They guessed it so quickly / dumbfounded. No, what surprised me was why Mingsheng could guess faster than Jiang Songqi. Is there really no secret behind this? How could there be no dark side? Ming Sheng, an ordinary student, was the first to guess this obscure thing by touching it. Can you think about this for yourself? Although. Don't scold me, I'm just a group of people. Ming Sheng's freshman major is related to the Demon Control Department, so being familiar with the guard stick can be considered a professional match, right? So, Tang Qingyan's major is also relevant. He is still a top student, and he didn't guess it was so fake as soon as he got started / hee, as both of them answered before him, Tang Chusi's face visibly deteriorated. However, the warning stick is already quite obscure, and even if ordinary people see it, they will not deliberately pay attention, let alone Tang Chusi, who doesn't care at all. In the original design of this stage, I never expected someone to be able to guess the specific item in such a short time, but I didn't expect two people to come straight at once. Director Su quickly took out the clues he had prepared in advance. Please listen carefully to the clues. The items in the terror box are at the scene, and everyone can search for relevant items as much as possible within their line of sight. At the outermost edge of the scene stood security personnel equipped just in case, with a small portion coming from the Liqing Town Demon Company. Upon hearing that Mingsheng was the first, Tang Qingyun suddenly felt a bit flustered in her heart, and her hand resting on the table tightened slightly. It's like this again. Since being returned by Mingsheng, because she is the real Tang family lady with blood ties, no matter what she does, she will be noticed by her family's personality. But as for her, even though she was the one who had lived with them for a full 16 years, she had to watch as her original family affection was taken away by a stranger. Fortunately, that idiot had no brain and could only watch as she gradually regained the attention and care that should have belonged to her. Tang Qingyun's drooping eyes were filled with a twisted sense of pleasure. So, this time it's definitely possible. She won't let go of anything that belongs to her. Tang Qingyun dodged the camera and tapped the table regularly. Immediately after, someone in the crowd suddenly moved and made a subtle gesture pointing towards the outermost direction. Tang Qingyun made a thought-provoking expression, as if she had suddenly thought of the answer in a flash of inspiration. She quickly wrote down the answer and handed it over. While turning around, she deliberately paused and whispered to Tang Chusi. "Chu Si Gu, don't hesitate, it's just a warning stick." Tang Chusi hesitated slightly, then quickly submitted the answer and looked at Tang Qingyun with satisfaction in his eyes. "Thanks to our family's rhyme, otherwise I might have missed the opportunity due to hesitation." Tang Qingyun smiled softly and said, "I also suddenly thought of the science popularization in the textbook. Unlike Sister Mingsheng, if it weren't for Director Su's suggestion, I probably wouldn't have guessed it. This is the normal reaction of a person, okay? Could a layman please try to establish a reputation as a top student by thinking twice/rolling his eyes? Miss Qingyun, beautiful and powerful. Don't miss out on passing by and invest without losing money. No, you keep saying that Sheng is looking for water army. How come I feel that people don't have any marketing skills, and their personalities are not affected? Why are so many people being targeted? Returning upstairs, just bringing funds into the group to squeeze out other people's spots is already very damaging to your popularity. I advise you not to be a fan." Oh, my temper has really started to rise. If I want to explain that Sheng answers questions quickly, Jiang, Song, and Qi are not far behind. Just because this is a professor. From my perspective, if I can get into a university as prestigious as Lin University, Mingsheng is not bad either. Just to popularize science, Mingsheng's professional expertise in emergency handling and response to special events is the flagship specialty of Peking University. Although Tang Qingyun went to Peking University, the level of expertise in ancient monster research is relatively low/sincere. Judging people can't just be based on their grades, can't we just look at their character and upbringing? Yunyun doesn't know how many streets they have left, and no one has seen the interaction between Yunyun and Tang Yingdi. If it weren't for siblings, then I would have really started knocking. It's so sweet. When has Teacher Tang been so special to people? Dream is an official sister. This family is really amazing under the guidance of Director Su. The remaining two people, Li Noa and Tongan, also guessed the correct answer one after another. In the end, Tang Qingyun and Tang Chusi were given 6 minutes and 5 minutes respectively, with Li Noa taking 4 minutes and Tongan being the unlucky 1-minute ultimate escape. Jiang Songqi rested his arm on the barrier between the two and tilted his head to look at Mingsheng. My student said that a younger sister in the emergency management major had already joined Professor Wen's research group in her freshman year. Ming is really young and promising. If we ignore the obvious playfulness and meaningful pauses in Jiang Songqi's tone, this passage is indeed in line with the professor's praise for the students. Ming Sheng looked at the man beside him and suddenly narrowed his eyes, revealing a certain conjecture in his heart. Since she can preserve her memory and be reborn, then her arch-nemesis Professor Zhang's personality sometimes seems a bit too much like that crazy 9-tailed fox. She suddenly turned around and took Jiang Songqi's hand, shaking it up and down solemnly in the bewildered gaze of the other person, with sincere emotions. Thank you for Professor Zhang's praise. I still have a long way to go before becoming an excellent young student, and I will continue to work hard. Jiang Songqi's arm stiffened for only 1 second, and then he took Mingsheng's hand from an angle not captured by the camera and smiled kindly. Ming is humble now. Ming Sheng maintained a look of admiration on his face and withdrew his hand. Dead change. State. Since we don't reject our own touch, it's probably not that cleanliness fetish anymore, and the remaining 20% have to gradually investigate. In the saved manuscript, someone has already fallen off the horse, seeking recommended tickets and 5-star reviews, waving a handkerchief. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Mingsheng's Revenge. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Mingsheng's Response, Online Consultation with Students from Linda, who is Professor Wen. Returning upstairs, it's Professor Wen Huanyan, whose main focus is on public emergency planning. His research and experimental group is not an exaggeration to say, ranking among the top in the country. I'll go, Mingsheng. Although not many people know about the fact that Ming Sheng joined Professor Wen's research group, it is not a secret. It is just that online people are now cursing her, and some people may say that she brought funds into the group. Thank you to Professor Jiang for speaking up about this matter, hands together. Quietly speaking, there are actually a lot of people chasing girls in school, both men and women /shu, damn it, I really have a filter for academic elites. I'm starting to doubt if there's any hidden truth behind Mingsheng bringing in resources to squeeze in spots. Are you all crazy? Mingsheng, a freshman student, being able to follow such a great professor seems to be just a matter of relationship. After studying professional courses for half a semester, you can understand the bullshit. Capital Sister has been black all her life. Watching Jiang Songqi interact with Mingsheng, Tang Chuxi's eyes flickered with displeasure as he looked at Mingsheng with a smile hidden in his face. Mingsheng, you have so much escape time, why don't you take care of the other 2 female guests? Don't rush to eliminate your competitors at the beginning. Upon hearing these words, Li Nua immediately waved her hand and said, No need, Mingsheng sister. 4 minutes is enough for me. Tang Qingyun was about to say something when she was stopped in her throat. Li Nua doesn't even want a 4-minute conversation. How can she answer a 6-minute conversation? Tang Qingyun immediately turned the conversation around and squeezed out a tone that was both nervous and worried. I have enough, Sister Mingsheng, come on, we all believe that you can make full use of your time. Ming Sheng turned around in surprise and bit the accent on certain words, saying. This doesn't necessarily mean that if I waste 10 minutes one by myself, and my strength because I'm not familiar with the rules, wouldn't that be a waste? That's it. She looked at Director Su and said decisively, I am applying to transfer 5 minutes to Miss Tang. I believe that Miss Tang, who has 11 minutes of escape time, can lead us towards victory, walk out of excitement, and walk into the future. Ming Sheng's tone was passionate, as if he was hosting an exciting competition. Tang Qingyun. Even Director Su was shaken by Mingsheng's operation and froze for 3 seconds before finally regaining his senses. Are you sure? After transferring 5 minutes to Tang Qingyun, your free escape time will be reduced to 5 minutes. Ming Sheng said, I am very certain. Although I was only born 5 days earlier than Miss Tang and have been in my freshman year this year, I still have to fulfill my responsibilities as a sister and take care of my weak and helpless sister. Please transfer the time, Director Su. Su Zhuliang, who originally intended to make a comeback, couldn't find a place to interject from Mingsheng's words and could only reluctantly admit. Okay, the current player Tang Qingyun's escape time has been reduced to 11 minutes, currently the highest. Ming Sheng's 2 sentences directly put pressure on Tang Qingyun, who had obtained the transfer of time. She bit her back teeth. Thank you, Miss Ming. I don't care. I'm going to fan Mingsheng. With this annoying ability alone, I fell in love directly in place. Crazy scream, I was originally standing for Tang Qingyun, but the 2 paragraphs from Mingsheng just now really convinced me, yes. Emperor Tang may have been joking, but upon closer examination, it's not appropriate. Why did Ming Sheng give away the top spot based on his strength for no reason? I think he can do it himself, but it's a bit of a moral kidnapping when others mention it, and the other two girls are not the lowest in terms of time. That's quite the case. Also, I don't know if I overthought Tang's words, but it's quite strange. Although it's a personal battle, it's like saying that if Ming wasted 10 minutes, he would be sorry to all of them. Maybe it's because I interpreted it too much, pointing fingers. The actor Tang and the academic powerhouse sister accidentally said the wrong thing and were interpreted as such by you. Isn't it that the capital sister with a stone hammer is even more cunning, speechless? My focus is that Tang Qingyun used to be the same year as Ming Sheng, and I thought she was so young when I heard her keep calling her sister. The time allocation session ended, and after all the guests changed into sportswear, Director Su announced with a loudspeaker. Everyone, please look towards your left side. 1 minute after the start of the dungeon, the 2 dungeon inspectors will be released. When your safety time is exhausted, your life light will light up. Please protect yourself. Now I announce that the Find Her campus copy has officially opened. The 2 sides of the entrance of the passage suddenly spewed, symbolizing the beginning of the game. Tongnan, who had been hiding for the least time, rushed out without saying a word and quickly took a turn and disappeared from everyone's sight. Although Ming Sheng only had 5 minutes left, he was not in a hurry at all. Instead, he stopped and leisurely turned around to observe the direction of the inspector. Both inspectors are wearing earphones. It seems that the intervention of the director's team is definitely necessary. Otherwise, in such a large campus, we would have to catch 2 or 6 at any time. 1 minute quickly ended, and the 2 inspectors immediately rushed out, running past Ming Sheng and heading straight towards the direction where Tongnan had left. Miss Ming silently mourned for Tongnan for 2 seconds in her heart, then immediately turned around and left. The place where they started recording was at the west gate of Ming University, and most of the teaching buildings in Ming University are concentrated near the central and east gates. Apart from the small river under the nearby bridge, there is only the guard room is here. Amidst the bewildered gaze of the cameraman, Mingsheng walked firmly towards the direction of the guard and greeted the security guard with great familiarity. Uncle Pan, why didn't you go to play Tai Chi with the dance troupe today? Mr. Pan frowned and immediately smiled upon discovering that it was Mingsheng. He waved his hand and greeted him, saying, Come, 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 come. Mr. Pan didn't even put his words in his mouth when he saw the photographer following Mingsheng. The old man pondered for a moment and cautiously inquired. Girl, are you recording a program? Mingsheng paused as he walked towards the guard room, but still chose to soothe the master's trembling heart. It's okay, Mr. Pan. This is the material I need for my group assignment. Don't worry, I'll just sit here and leave. Smoothly infiltrating the guard room, Mingsheng waved to the camera, gesturing for him to stand in a dead corner behind the wall like himself, to prevent outsiders from seeing inside through the window. In his more than 10 years of career, the cameraman brother also encountered this situation for the first time. He couldn't figure out the path of the guest he was following, so he asked cautiously and politely. Is there anything you need, teacher? Ming Sheng waved his hand and said, Not really a teacher. Big brother just calls me by name. Isn't that because the director hasn't released the task yet? Let me communicate and get to know each other first. Complete the title HHH of Middle 2 today is to criticize Wang Sheng, end of this chapter. Chapter 9. Respect the old and love the young. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Respect the old and love the young. As he spoke, Ming Sheng even brought 2 chairs to signal the camera to sit down, and also brought a package of melon seeds from the gatekeeper. The weather outside is 37.8 degrees Celsius, and the guard room is very cool due to the air conditioning, plus melon seeds. The camera guy shamefully took a heart attack. Compared to my colleagues running back and forth carrying heavy machinery under the sun, I can't even find a job like this with a lantern on it. Mingsheng took advantage of the heat to strike the iron and handed over a handful of fragrant melon seeds. "Brother, how many cameras did we have on our program this time?" The cameraman casually took it over, looked at the melon seeds in his hand, and decided to let himself go. He knocked back while saying, "Do you have a total of 6 guests, plus 3 or 4 inspectors who also need to be accompanied by photographers?" "About 20 of them have come, and most of them are acquaintances." At the beginning of the program, only 2 inspectors were announced, which indicates that there will definitely be an increase in the number of inspectors in the later stages. Mingsheng didn't poke the cameraman who accidentally leaked the topic, but continued to silently say something. "Besides being a co-photographer like you, do you also have someone responsible for shooting fixed NPCs? One of my cousins is studying photography and he wants to find a job in this field during his summer internship." With a natural tone and specific contextual settings, the cameraman brother was completely undefended. I'm not talking about it, but you should advise your cousin, girl. It's really difficult to do things like shooting. My colleagues who shoot fixed NPCs are like those in the main teaching building. They're okay and don't have much time to run, like me." Halfway through, the cameraman suddenly paused and realized something. He looked at Mingsheng with a frightened expression, and the melon seed stopped knocking. His eyes were filled with accusations, as if an innocent girl had been deceived, and looked at Mingsheng like a scumbag. The scumbag patted the melon seed ash in his hand and smiled gratefully at the cameraman. "Thank you, brother." Camera operator. QAQ. Less than a minute before her life light came on, Mingsheng adjusted the position of the button light tied to her arm to minimize the impact of the light before leaving the guard room. "When I left, I also borrowed Mr. Pan's sunshade umbrella by hand. What operation is this? It's only been 4 minutes now. I'll go." Tang Qingyan's escape time hasn't even run out yet, and Mingsheng has already set the position for the first mission point. "If you don't understand, I'll ask. Didn't the cameraman just accidentally reveal the location of the NPC? How did you know it was the first mission?" "Because photographers, if it weren't for the NPCs that guests would come into contact with in a short period of time, wouldn't have allowed photographers to shoot at designated locations, and since the story background hasn't been revealed yet, it's highly likely that they will bring the initial NPC set." Sleeping trough, that means Mingsheng thought of these things when he entered the guard room just now. Compared to this, what shocked me even more was that Mingsheng was so familiar with the master in the guard room. Anyone who could get to know the school guard so well must not be a bad person. This is my view of good and evil. I'll go. It seems that Tang Yingdi and Tang Qingyun have collided head-on with the inspectors. There are 2 variety shows on both sides, one for extreme survival, and the other for slow life. With clues set out, Mingsheng opened his umbrella and slowly took a shortcut towards the main teaching building. With the blessing of friendship in the leak of secrets, the cameraman also received a children's sun umbrella wrapped around his head. Ming classmate. So coincidental. A gentle and elegant voice came from behind. Ming Sheng paused for a moment, then just as he was about to accelerate his pace and pretend not to hear, Yu Guangli saw the pants legs of a certain professor. Jiang Songqi, as if completely unaware that Mingsheng wanted to run, picked up his fox eyes and smiled, saying, "Are you forming an alliance? We are all familiar with the campus of Linda, so let's form an alliance and work together." Ming Sheng had a loud alarm in her head. She just wanted to quietly finish the variety show while reporting her personal grievances, but she didn't want to have a deeper relationship with someone who seemed dangerous. Moreover, before she could determine the identity of the other party, she took a slight step back and said, "I believe with Professor Zhang's ability, even if we don't form an alliance, we can win the championship with our strength. Jiang Songqi lifted his eyes and chuckled lightly, taking a slight step towards the position of Mingsheng. I tend to be more focused on science in my life, and academically, I am a professor, but not necessarily in games, he said. Although it was a normal tone, Mingsheng couldn't help but read a hint of danger from it. Just as she was thinking of an excuse, the noise of the crowd suddenly came from a distance, interrupting the strange atmosphere between the two. Ming Sheng and Jiang Songqi both looked towards the direction of the sound source. I saw Tang Chusi being closely pursued by an inspector, and not far behind was Tang Qinyun running along. Tang Qinyun saw Ming Sheng standing very close to Jiang Songqi, and a hint of jealousy flashed through her eyes. Suddenly, she turned her foot and rushed towards Ming Sheng, waving at Tang Chusi and shouting, "Brother! This way!" Ming Sheng from the theater. Despite having a corner on the other side for easy escape from pursuit, she still chose her side without hesitation. This was a great deal of resentment. Even if Tang Chusi sacrificed himself, he would still lead her to the inspector. Tang Chusi turned in the direction and came with a relentless pursuer behind him. Ming Sheng took the opportunity to get rid of Jiang Songqi and pulled the person towards the back of the flower bed, with a sincere tone. "Professor Jiang, you should hide here first, and I will guide the patrol for you." Seeing what else Jiang Songqi wanted to say, Ming Sheng immediately made a silent gesture and said, "Respecting the elderly and loving the young is a traditional virtue of our country." After speaking, she lifted her steps and ran out. Tang Chusi slipped behind the flower bed with a foot brake, and the inspector's line of sight was obstructed. He immediately turned around and started chasing Mingsheng. I'll go, I'll go, I'll go. This inspector is so terrifying. 1 second, I wanted to give Professor Jiang and Mingsheng a shallow blow, and the next second, I'll just pull them back into the pursuit battle. But Mingsheng was really fierce, pushing the professor who was over 1.8 meters behind and rushing out on his own. Dumbfounded, Mingsheng is really funny. Professor Jiang is probably the first time someone has said, "Respect for the elderly, dog head, what is this? CP. Take a shallow tap. Help, someone advise me. If this continues, I will really fall in love with Mingsheng cry." Mingsheng turned his head and ran around a few people towards the direction of the main teaching building. Although Linda occupies a large area, there are not many places that are truly suitable for getting rid of inspectors. Especially on a straight pedestrian path like the one in front of me, except for the occasional wall at the end of the fork, one can almost see the head at a glance, and there are not even many turning points. Mingsheng ran and leaned towards the roadside. The main teaching building is now on her right side, only a wall away from her. With added updates, end of this chapter. Chapter 10. I can't hear dog barking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. I can't hear dog barking. Watching Mingsheng suddenly step up and run towards the dead end, the barrage of bullets instantly became tense. This is a dead end, no, even if you want to go to the main building, you won't leave from here. Isn't Mingsheng a student from Linda? This road can be considered a main road, and she wouldn't know if she can't walk here. What is she doing? She's in a passive competition. Sai, you're definitely going to be arrested now. Alright, you don't have to argue anymore. We'll just have to kill ourselves and get rid of it. Even the arresters gradually slowed down, determined that Mingsheng could not escape from the dead end. Unexpectedly, in the next second, Mingsheng took a few steps to run up and leaped over the wall, directly stepping on the protrusion on the wall. The inspector, who had already reached out and was about to turn off the life lamp, was stunned and froze in place, with a hint of cracks in his trained expression. Of course, there was another person on site who was even more upset than him. The cameraman looked silently at his own camera and the high wall in front of him, lost in thought. What flew past just now? Hiss, it's starting to explode, like seeing a flying person in the air. Dumbfounded, sleeping trough, how did she step on the wall just now? I looked at it for a while and didn't see a place on the wall where I could borrow strength. No joke, I'm a fitness enthusiast. That move just now definitely required strong core strength / bitter smile. Now the statement that we all know kung fu is difficult to explain / cover our mouths and cry, goodbye everyone, from today on, I am the only fan of Mingsheng. With such a powerful Max character and such a great personality, there is no conclusive evidence of a mediocre scholar in the existing black materials. I have no reason not to fans. Xing baby, I am here. Drooling, the inspector turned his head respectfully and looked around twice, confirming that there were no other guests around, then turned around and left, leaving the photographer alone to mourn. Meanwhile, on the other side of the wall, Ming Sheng patted the dust on his hands and walked towards the enclosed teaching building. In order to avoid the situation where the task was completed before it was released, the director team immediately released Task 1 in advance. All guests have received task prompts on their phones. Task 1. Please find the NPC guide located in the main teaching building. He will tell you the background of this instance and the key steps for the next step. The task is limited to 10 minutes, and those who fail to find the NPC within the time limit will be notified of their location. Thanks to the program team's mission, the photographer who walked the main road finally caught up with Mingsheng's pace. After meeting, the two walked into the main building. In order to minimize the impact on college students, some classrooms in the main building are still operating normally. As soon as he entered the building, Mingsheng heard a familiar sound coming from a certain classroom. As is well known, the older the history of university teaching buildings, the more charm they generally have. Specifically, the sound insulation is very poor. Therefore, during class, no teacher would give up closing doors and windows to reduce interference from neighboring neighbors. Following the sound, Mingsheng walked to the entrance of a staircase classroom with a wide open door. On the podium of the staircase classroom, Wen Huanyan was holding chalk and playing on the blackboard with a serious expression. As the closed-door disciple of Wen Huanyan, Mingsheng naturally knows the status of his teacher's schedule. The reason why the old professor who didn't have a class in 3 days appeared here is obvious. Ming Sheng laughed in surprise and knocked directly on the door. Professor. Mingsheng, what's going on? Why did he break into a classroom where classes are taking place? My mother, this old professor looks very dignified at first glance. He won't scold directly in class just because he's disturbed / afraid. The people from our school said, you guys wait, the reversal is coming soon. At the moment of seeing Mingsheng, Wen Huanyan's serious expression suddenly dissipated from his face. He put down the chalk in his hand, didn't ask any questions, and walked straight to Mingsheng with a smile on his face. I knew you must be the first to arrive, Shaosheng. You truly deserve to be my gatekeeper disciple. As if to help Mingsheng correct his name, Professor Wen also emphasized the 4 words, closed-door disciple. The first time I found out, it turns out that this kind of old professor who looks serious can really smile so kindly. I'm dumbfounded, this distinction is too obvious / dumbfounded, wait, closing the door disciple. Didn't it mean that Sheng only joined Professor Wen's research group before? Can TMD closing the door disciple be the same as an ordinary student? You dragged out the one who lied about military information and killed him, / angry, as I said earlier, Professor Wen really favors Ming Xueme. Do you believe it or pout? Previously, Mingsheng said that people who rely on connections to get in. As a result, the little girl was upright and relied on herself / rolled her eyes. I only have 10% confidence in the rumor that Ming Sheng will bring his talents into the group now / silence. Wen Huanyan took out a task card from his pocket and reviewed the content before starting to say. 15 years ago, a student case occurred at the 50th high school. Due to a lack of physical evidence, the case could only be hastily closed. Later, the 50th high school was demolished and a university campus was rebuilt. Please find a channel to trace back time in the replica and uncover the truth behind the wrongful case of that year. When you have no ideas, why not take a look at the 9th floor of the teaching building located at the East Gate? When Huanyan affectionately patted Mingsheng's shoulder and smiled, "Go ahead, girl." Mingsheng responded, and before leaving, he took out a handful of melon seeds from his pocket and put them in Huanyan's hand. He waved his hand and smiled. "Respecting your elderly family, just obedient from the gatekeeper, Mr. Pan. See you later." As soon as he left the staircase classroom, Mingsheng ran into the Tang couple at the door. Both of them seemed to have come running, with sweat still on their foreheads. Tang Chusi frowned and scrutinized Mingsheng, speaking coldly. "Have you found the NPC?" Mingsheng smiled slightly and said without any courtesy to these two people, "Do you care so much about living by the seaside?" Just as he ran from under the sun, Tang Chusi was already very unhappy. When he met Mingsheng, who was usually abnormal, he couldn't help but breathe on the ground. Just as he was about to erupt, he was stopped by Tang Qingyun. The latter looked at Mingsheng and softly mediated, saying, "Brother, don't be angry. Miss Ming is just too excited. I believe she definitely didn't mean to conceal any clues." After learning from the previous lesson, Tang Qingyun said directly, "Asheng, just give us a rough idea of the direction, and let's find the rest ourselves." Mingsheng doesn't have much to fear on weekdays, but the two most annoying things are running outside on hot days and dancing with white lotus flowers on his face. Unfortunately, Tang Qingyun stumbled upon two things at once. She opened the sun umbrella indoors, forcing Tang Qingyun and Tang Chusi to take a step back. Then he propped up the umbrella and, as he walked, he turned his head in confusion and said, "What did you say just now?" "I'm sorry, I can't hear dogs barking." Simply put, the personnel composition of the Tang family big brother Tang Chujing, currently an A-level demon hunter, was born to Tang's father and ex-wife, and is now married to Tang's wife, Gu Chuyen, as a second wife's second brother Tang Chusi, son of Tang, and his ex-wife third brother Tang Yun, son of Tang and Gu Mingsheng, daughter of Tang and Gu Tang Qingyun, adopted daughter. After seeing off Mingsheng, there is also the youngest son, Tang Chuha, Tang's orphan, adopted by Tang under his own name. The first and second brothers who have already appeared are the eldest and second brothers. The specific details will be discussed in the text. For fear that some treasures may confuse, let's talk about them here first. End of this chapter.